The sixth chime. Have you ever picked up a passenger and, after they left, there was no trace they'd ever existed? My name's Alex. I drive a night shift taxi in Manchester, where the fog hangs thick like a gray veil over every worn-down street. I'm not the paranoid type. 10 years behind the wheel has taught me how to spot trouble from far away. The look in a drunk's eye, the way someone moves if they're carrying a weapon, or just how certain people step into your car, like they don't belong in this world. That night was one of those December nights that cut straight to the bone. The taxi rank on the eastern edge of the city was as dead as a graveyard. I was parked beneath a pale yellow street lamp, the light bleeding out through the mist, casting a dying halo on the ground. I was finishing the last sip of my coffee, hand shaking from the cold, when the front door opened. I hadn't even heard footsteps. A man, tall, thin, wrapped in a long black coat that brushed the ground. His face was ghost pale, like it hadn't seen sunlight in years. No luggage, just a small gift box in black wrapping paper, tied with a dark red ribbon. His eyes were sunken so deep, I couldn't even tell where the irises ended and the pupils began. "Got room in there?" His voice was rough, gravelly, like it echoed up from a well. I nodded. "Where to?" "No address. I'll direct you. Just drive the way I say." I hesitated. Every instinct told me to say no. But the cold, the exhaustion, and that voice, something in it pulled me in. I flicked the light to available. He climbed into the back seat, holding that gift box close, and said nothing. I started the engine. As I pulled away from the rank, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty. I turned around immediately. He was there, those sunken eyes staring right at me through the glass. I blinked, faced forward. The air inside the cab was noticeably colder, even though the heater was on. "Turn left. Go through 3 intersections. I'll tell you more after that." His voice made me jump. I followed his directions, but the wheel felt heavier with every turn. There were no more cars on the road. No more houses. After the 3rd intersection, I realized I had no idea where we were. No streetlights, no signs, just abandoned buildings, broken windows reflecting the yellow beam of my headlights like 1,000 watching eyes. The GPS had gone silent, blank screen, just a nameless roundabout ahead. "Keep going. This road isn't marked. Only the ones who need it can see it." I swallowed hard. My chest felt tight. The radio screen flickered, then crackled with a distorted classical piece, violin strings dragging notes like they were crying. Then, pop. Total silence. Black screen. I checked the rear view again. Still empty. "Why do you keep looking at me through the mirror, Alex? Don't believe you're awake?" I almost slammed the brakes. He knew my name. I never told him. My name tag had fallen off last week and I hadn't replaced it. I started to shake. My hands were freezing on the wheel, but sweat was pouring down the back of my neck. Can I ask you something?" I said, my voice cracking. He smiled. "Of course. Are you human?" He tilted his head. A long pause. Then he set the gift box on the seat, leaned forward, and brought his mouth close to my ear. "I was once, Alex. Just like many of the others you've driven and don't remember. But I'm the last one you'll forget." The car jolted as we hit a bump. I slammed the brakes. We were stopped on an unmarked road, surrounded by pitch black. "Get out, Alex. We've arrived." "Arrived where?" "Somewhere you swore you'd never return to." I looked around. Then I realized. I knew this road. I had driven it once, 6 years ago, the night after the accident, the night my daughter died. A wave of dizziness crashed over me. I opened the door and stepped out, barely aware of myself. The cold mist slithered through my coat. When I turned back, the car was empty. Only the black gift box remained. I don't know how long I stood there. Eventually, I opened it. Inside was an old photo. Me and my little girl, taken the day before the accident. A photo I thought I'd burned with her ashes, and a note. "Next time, keep your promise." The radio had stayed silent ever since that warped classical tune played, and then cut out, like someone had yanked the plug. Inside the cab, only the heater's fan could be heard, blowing out weak warmth that couldn't chase away the strange chill creeping in from the back seat. Alex glanced in the mirror again. Elias sat motionless, cradling the black box like he was holding a living thing. His eyes were wide open, staring out the window at the rows of trees retreating into the night. No reflection. The rearview mirror still showed an empty seat, as if the cold Alex was feeling came from a ghost that didn't exist.
"How old is she?" Elias's voice came out of nowhere, so soft and sudden it sent chills rippling down Alex's skin. Alex turned around, frowning. "What?" "Your daughter, Clara, right? Or do you still call her Little Daisy like you did in those birthday cards?"
This time, Alex truly felt the fear. He hadn't mentioned his family once during the ride. He kept nothing personal in the car. So how the hell did this strange passenger know any of that? "I don't think I ever said—" "You didn't have to." Elias cut him off, still gently stroking the box like lulling a child to sleep. "I know about your wife's chronic asthma, how she can't sleep whenever the weather shifts. I know Clara gets night terrors. I know about the time you nodded off at the wheel on Clayton Bridge in 2017 and broke an old lady's legs." Every word landed like a blade, peeling away the final pieces of armor Alex clung to just to survive. The buried mistakes, the unspoken fears, all exposed under Elias's bottomless black gaze. "Who are you?" Alex's voice cracked. His hands clenched the steering wheel, which had begun to tremble. Elias only smiled, a smile without warmth. "I'm just someone who needed a ride. And what I know, that's all from you. You gave it away in the first few breaths after I got in. People like you, with chaos and guilt swirling inside, are easy to read." Alex took a deep breath, tried to press the brake, but his foot wasn't responding. No matter how hard he pushed, it stayed on the gas, steadily propelling them forward. The road was no longer familiar. That black strip of asphalt stretched endlessly through the thick fog, streetlights blinking on and off like they were trying not to witness what was happening. The GPS screen, blank white. No location, no signal. And then Alex began noticing the road signs. All of them bore the same number, 66. First, it was Exit 66. Then Detour 66. Service stop, 66 miles ahead. Every few hundred feet, a new sign, each one repeating that number. Again and again. His vision started wearing down, assaulted by the hypnotic repetition. But what chilled Alex to the core were the shops lining the roadside. All of them were closed. Yet behind the glass stood people, motionless, pressed up against the windows, eyes wide open, not blinking, not moving, just staring straight out at the road, at his taxi rolling by. Elias began to hum, a strange, old melody, impossible to place. Not a language he recognized. His voice was low, steady, drawn out in a way that overwhelmed the air. Alex wanted to say something, to shout, but his throat felt gripped by invisible hands. There was a distinct sensation, like something had soaked into his bloodstream, severing the link between thought and action. And then, the boy appeared, right in the middle of the road. A small, white figure, standing perfectly still. A rabbit mask covered most of his face. Hollow black eyes peered out through two cut holes, his right hand raised, pointing directly at Alex's car. There was no time to brake, no reflex left, just a hard jolt of panic and no impact. When Alex whipped his head around, the boy was gone. Only a faint burnt smell lingered in the air. Alex took a deep breath. That smell, it wasn't burning rubber, and it wasn't engine smoke either. It was more like the stench of half-scorched fabric, with a faint metallic tang, like dried blood. "I've seen him before," Elias said, his voice echoing as if it came from a hollow deep in his throat. "The boy with the rabbit mask. I saw him the night my little brother drowned in the bathtub. I was 8. Alex gripped the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles bone white. What Elias said wasn't just strange, it hit something raw, something Alex had seen in his dreams. The recurring nightmare since the accident. The boy in the rabbit mask standing by the roadside right before his car slid on the fog and crashed into the guardrail.
What did you say?
Alex asked hoarsely, eyes fixed on the road, where the street lamps had all gone out, leaving only the dull glow of his headlights. Elias smiled, for the first time since he got in. His teeth weren't crooked or decayed. They looked worn down, as if time had filed each one into uneven ridges, like the teeth of a beast.
You know,
Elias said, his eyes fixed on the rearview mirror,
of all the people I've shared a ride with, no one's hiding more than you.
And that's when Alex realized. He still couldn't see Elias's reflection. She still keeps the wedding photo under the kitchen mirror, doesn't she? Elias asked. Silver frame, but it's faded now. The last picture where her smile was real. Alex nearly slammed the brake, but Elias didn't stop. Do you remember the night you fell asleep on the couch and left your daughter seizing in her room? The doctor said it wasn't your fault, but your wife's face that night, that look, was the verdict. Alex's heart pounded. The air inside the car had thickened, heavy, like every molecule was locking him in place. You're not a bad man, Alex, Elias said, his voice softening. But there are shadows you've never dared face. You drown them with endless nights on the road. You drive like if you keep moving, you can leave them behind. But no one outruns forever. Another road sign flicked past, 66 for the 13th time in less than 30 minutes.
We've passed that one already,
Alex murmured. Oh, that's not a sign, Elias replied. It's a reminder. 66, the number of disowned selves, the final address for those too afraid to confront what's theirs. Alex felt the gas pedal go numb beneath his foot. He let go. It kept pressing. No response. He reached for the gear shift, jammed tight, like the car wasn't under his control anymore. Ever wonder, Elias asked, if you'd gotten home earlier that night, would she still have seized? If you hadn't stopped to buy that bottle, if you hadn't sat in the car for 30 minutes thinking about divorce? Shut up, Alex rasped. She looked just like you, you know, especially the eyes. But now those eyes, they're not so clear anymore. Shut up, Alex roared. The radio snapped on. That same warped classical tune from earlier, but now playing in reverse. Each note stretched, distorted, like string wires pulling until they tore. Elias laughed, but it wasn't human. It sounded like wind rushing through the narrow corridors of a long-abandoned church. Don't worry, Alex, he whispered. We're not there yet, but we're very, very close. Outside, the road curved into a fog-choked descent. No shoulders, no guardrails, only the edges lined with hundreds of blackened, soot-like figures, each one wearing a rabbit mask, standing still, pointing directly at the car. Alex no longer knew if he was awake or dreaming. But one thing was clear. Reality had changed. And Elias was the one who opened the door. The car slowed as it approached a sharp bend. An old wooden house emerged by the roadside. The only light came from a window on the upper floor, dim and flickering like candlelight. Elias spoke, not as a command, not even a suggestion. Just a statement, like everything had already been decided. Stop here. We need to see her. Alex didn't have time to ask who. Before he knew it, the car was parked at the front steps. Elias got out, and almost without thinking, Alex followed. His rational mind was screaming to turn back, to leave this place. But his legs didn't listen. The door opened before they could knock. A wave of smells hit them. Burnt incense, stale cigarettes, wilted flowers. An elderly woman stood in the dark, wrapped in a worn fur robe. Her eyes were deep, wet, and ancient. Come in. I've been waiting a long time. Elias nodded. The old woman didn't look at him. Her gaze locked onto Alex. So you're the one bringing him this time? Still a taxi? Still the same hour? Still the blind route? Everything repeats. But I think this time, it'll be different. A chill ran down Alex's spine. They sat in a room detached from time. Walls covered in faded foil wallpaper, a clock hanging upside down, and old photographs plastered across the ceiling. Portraits of drivers, none of them with a living light in their eyes. Among them, Alex recognized a familiar face, the driver who went missing 4 years ago, from the same lot where Alex often parked.
His name was Martin, the old woman said, picking up on his thoughts. We talked for exactly 3 minutes before Elias, took him. Martin never came back, but he's still here, somewhere in these photos.
Alex turned to Elias, but the seat was empty. Don't bother looking for him. He'll show up when he wants to. For now, you need to listen. You still have time, at least, until the 6th chime. She began her tale. Elias used to be a normal man, a telecom employee from Derbyshire. After a devastating car accident, he survived, miraculously. But then he began to change. No one saw him eat. No one saw him sleep. He didn't even seem to breathe anymore. Since then, he appears in the city every December, choosing a driver and leading them onto Route 66, a place where reality twists. Those who finish the route never come back the same. Some lose their minds, some disappear. A few are replaced. Alex swallowed hard. The old woman pointed to another photo, a young driver smiling beside his little daughter. The face looked uncannily like Alex's. "You weren't the first Elias chose," she said, "but you might be the last, if you don't break the cycle." The clock rang once, a deep toll that pierced straight through Alex's flesh. He shivered. The woman looked at him, her eyes knowing, ancient. "You've met Elias before," she said quietly, "but that memory was erased." Alex's heart pounded.
He tried to remember, but his mind was blank. "It happened on a winter night, 6 years ago," she continued. "You drove this same road. Elias was already there."
A blurry image flickered in Alex's mind. A fog-covered road, headlights bleeding through thick mist. He remembered stopping for a passenger. "You brought Elias to this place," she said. "And after that, you forgot everything." Dizziness crashed over him. Alex sat down, trying to steady himself. Shards of memory floated up. A familiar smile, a deep voice, and the overwhelming cold. "You were chosen by Elias," she said. "But somehow you escaped the loop. Elias isn't happy about that." The clock rang a second time. The sound vibrated through the room, heavy and slow. Outside, the fog had grown thicker, swallowing everything in sight. "You need to leave before the 6th chime," she warned. "If you don't, you'll never get out." Alex stood, nodded, and thanked her. He stepped outside. The car was still there, headlights cutting through the fog. He opened the door, sat behind the wheel, and turned the key. As he looked into the rearview mirror, Elias was sitting in the back seat again, his eyes bottomless, staring straight into him. "We meet again," Elias said, a pale smile forming on his lips. A chill raced down Alex's spine. He knew this journey wasn't over, and this time, he had to face the truth that had been buried for 6 long years. The car moved forward, fog thick as wool blanketing the road ahead. The headlights lit only a few meters forward, leaving everything else around them hazy and unfamiliar. Alex realized he was driving down a road he'd never seen before. "This is Route 66, Elias said, voice low and calm, "where reality bends, where memories are forgotten." Alex swallowed hard, trying to stay composed. He remembered the old woman's warning. "You must leave before the 6th chime rings." The road twisted into a fog-drenched descent. No shoulders, no guardrails. Lining both sides were hundreds of soot-black mannequins, each one wearing a rabbit mask, each one standing still, each one pointing directly at the car. Alex no longer knew if he was awake or dreaming. But one thing was certain. Reality had shifted, and Elias was the one who opened the door. "You've driven this road before," Elias said. 6 years ago, on a winter night just like this one." Alex tried to recall, but his mind was blank. Then, fragments began surfacing. A fog-covered road, headlights slicing through dense mist, and a passenger with eyes that looked bottomless. "You brought me here once before," Elias said, "and after that, you remembered nothing."
The fourth chime rang out, pulling Alex from his thoughts. Outside, the fog grew even thicker, obscuring everything. "You have to leave before the sixth chime," Elias warned. "If you don't, you'll never get out."
Alex pressed down on the accelerator, trying to find a way out, but the road seemed endless. No intersections, no turns, no signs of escape. Every sign repeated the same number, 66. Every roadside store was shuttered. Behind the glass, motionless figures staring blankly out. A boy in a rabbit mask appeared in the middle of the road, pointed at the car, then vanished. Alex felt himself being swallowed by a different reality, the past unraveling, and Elias began speaking truths no one should know. "You caused the accident 6 years ago," Elias said. "Someone died, and you forgot." Alex's heart pounded. He remembered the crash, but it was all hazy, disjointed. "I helped you forget," Elias said, "but now you have to face the truth." The fifth chime rang. Alex knew time was running out. He had to break free from this loop before it was too late. If you ever hear a broadcast at 3 o'clock a.m., on a frequency not listed on any map, don't try to find the source. It's not meant for you. It's only for those who once entered Route 66 and survived. The sixth chime hadn't rung yet, but Alex could feel time itself fracturing. Everything around him fell silent, like a death with no sound. The car plunged through a curtain of dense fog, its headlights swallowed by an endless void. All sense of speed, direction, even of his own body, vanished. Elias sat in the back, quiet, but his presence was so massive it felt like he was consuming all the space inside the car. "You forgot that place," Elias said. "I don't blame you, but there's one thing you need to remember. Before the final chime." Alex gripped the steering wheel so hard he felt like his skin might tear open. He had never felt so close to death, but also never so awake. "Checkpoint 0, Elias whispered. "It's where you first emerged in a panic after the crash 6 years ago. That's where I found you." The car slowed as a new path opened ahead, a jagged slope leading into a dead forest. Trees black as coal, twisted like they were screaming without a voice. Below, a decaying broadcast tower rose up, its red light on top flickering faintly. "Checkpoint 0, Alex stepped out. His legs felt like they were sinking into spiritual mud. He had been here before. Dimly, somewhere locked inside fractured memory. That tower, it was where everything began, and where it might end. Elias followed, his footsteps making no sound. "Inside the tower," he said, "there's an old transmission room. It only comes alive during December nights. And tonight, you've been chosen to deliver the final broadcast." Alex turned abruptly. "Why me?" Elias smiled, a smile with no teeth, no flesh, just a void, like the mouth of a canyon. "Because only you still remember love in its purest form, before it was twisted. Because your daughter, she's still waiting for you to remember who she is." The metal door groaned open. Alex stepped inside a small, dusty room. The walls were covered with photos of drivers, most of them long gone. In the center, an old mic and a rusted control panel. Elias handed him a recording tape. "Speak the truth. Only the truth can break the loop. If you lie, you'll be replaced." Alex's hands trembled, but he sat down, placed himself in front of the mic, and drew a deep breath. Then he began, each word dragging memory from the mud. "My name is Alex Foster. 6 years ago, I caused an accident. I drank, then drove. My daughter was in the back seat. I thought I forgot, but I only buried it. I lost her that day. And Elias, he helped me forget, but now I remember. If anyone hears this broadcast, please know, there are losses that should never be erased. Keep the memory alive. Otherwise, we're no longer human." He stopped. The mic buzzed, then went still. Elias stood there, his eyes no longer dark, but filled with a cold, quiet sorrow. So you chose the truth. Alex stood. The room began to tremble. The images blurred, and the sixth chime rang. But this time, it wasn't terrifying. It was release. Outside, the first light of dawn pierced the fog. Alex stepped out. The tower behind him dissolved, as if it had never existed. No Elias, no car, just him, standing in the middle of a barren field, holding an old photo, a man and a little girl, smiling, wide-eyed. He whispered, "I'm sorry, sweetheart." On a signal from nowhere, precisely at 3 a.m. every December night, some still claim they hear that voice. Hoarse, trembling, but real. If you have children, go home before it's too late. Don't let them become a memory in the dark.